We are jumping straight in today with a really big high-stakes question, maybe one of the most provocative in all of higher education right now. What is the actual value of a business degree when it can cost, $100, even $200,000?
Especially now.
Especially now, when generative AI can do the core strategic work faster, cheaper, and frankly, often better than a recent graduate.
That is the existential question. And our sources today make it really clear this is not just about plugging ChatGPT into a marketing class.
No, this is much bigger.
It's a fundamental disruption. AI is challenging the entire value architecture of business education. It's forcing schools to ask if their main product, the analytical generalist, is, well, becoming a commodity.
Exactly. So our mission today is to unpack that. We need to figure out how AI is, on the one hand, commoditizing all this foundational knowledge, while on the other, it's creating these urgent new needs for, actual human judgment.
Okay.
And we're going to dig into the really radical ways top schools are trying to reinvent themselves, because they're the ones deciding what that six-figure MBA is actually going to be worth in the future.
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's unpack this disruption. The challenge is structural, right? Because AI isn't just like doing basic data entry anymore.
Not at all. We're talking about core strategic capability. The research cited in our material shows that AI can now complete really complex business tasks.
Things like financial modeling or strategic analysis.
Exactly. And it's doing it at a level that's comparable to, or sometimes even better than, recent business school grads.
And the scale of this is huge. I saw that Accenture projection that large language models could impact something like 40% of all work hours.
40%. It's a staggering figure. And this is all happening because AI is basically pulling the rug out from under the three traditional pillars that business education was built on for decades.
So let's start with the first one, the one that's probably the easiest to grasp.
Yeah.
The actual knowledge and skills you're paying to learn.
Right. Pillar one is knowledge transfer and skill development. Historically, you went to business school to master frameworks like Porter's 5 Forces, or to learn how to build a discounted cash flow model.
That was the secret sauce.
That was the secret sauce. That knowledge was a proprietary skill. But now it's completely commoditized. And AI can generate a sophisticated, deep analysis in, 30 seconds.
And the BCG research on this is just stunning.
It's incredible. They found that consultants using GPT-4 finished business tasks 25% faster.
Okay, faster is one thing.
But here's the kicker, with 40% higher quality. And what's really telling is that the AI gave the biggest boost to the lower performing consultants.
Wait a minute, 40% higher quality, and it helps the weakest performers the most. That doesn't just make the skill cheaper.
No.
It seems like it almost eliminates the traditional learning curve altogether. The whole idea that you need 2 years to master these things is suddenly on shaky ground.
Precisely. If AI can close that gap between a competent analyst and an expert almost instantly, what are the schools left to teach? And that brings us right to the second pillar.
The credential itself.
Pillar 2, credential signaling. For years, the MBA from a good school, a high GPA, that was a signal to employers. It said you were capable, you were trained, you could handle the work.
It is a filter.
A very effective filter. But AI disrupts this too. If you can use AI to help with your assignments, to polish your work, does your A grade still mean you have A grade capability?
Right. It degrades the information that grade is supposed to carry.
It does. And companies are already shifting. They're using more project-based assessments, work samples, their own in-house tests. They're not just taking the degree's signal for granted anymore.
Okay, so if the skills are commoditized and the credential is less reliable, then everything comes down to the third pillar, the network. That's the last line of defense.
And even that pillar is being affected, though it is the most resistant. We think about the advantage of being physically in the same room, but remote collaboration tools are making that less of a premium. But the really critical point is systemic. A network's value is tied to the jobs it can get you.
Okay.
So if AI starts to reduce demand for those classic business grad jobs, the entry-level analyst, the middle manager who synthesizes reports, then the network that's optimized to place you in those roles, well, it starts to lose its value too.
So we're seeing skills, signaling, and even the network losing their unique edge. It's no wonder the old ROI calculation is completely unstable now. For you, the potential student staring at that tuition bill, $50,000, $200,000, the old promise is broken.
It is. The trade-off of, I learn these frameworks, I get this high salary, is changing under our feet. And the speed of that change is where we find the next big problem, the
Yeah.
barriers inside the schools themselves.
Right. It's one thing to see the storm coming. It's another to be able to turn the ship.
Yeah. And this is a very big ship that has been sailing in the same direction since about 1959 after a report pushed schools toward these rigorous analytical methods. It worked great for decades.
But this is where it gets really interesting. The sources argue the biggest barrier to change isn't a lack of smart people or technology. It's the internal structure, and it's all driven by the perverse incentives of the global rankings.
That's the heart of it. The chase for a better ranking in the Financial Times or U.S. News has created this powerful trap. They call it the ranking-driven equilibrium.
Meaning everyone just ends up looking the same.
Exactly. To climb the rankings, you need to admit students with high test scores. You need to place them in high-paying jobs, which usually means consulting and finance, and you need to teach a standardized core curriculum.
It's a feedback loop.
A powerful one. It incentivizes everyone to fly toward the same destination, which makes radical, quick adaptation almost impossible. You're rewarded for maintaining the status quo.
And this inertia, it doesn't hit all schools equally, right? Some
Sure.
are way more vulnerable.
That's right. The ones in the most immediate danger are the mid-tier programs, say ranked 20 to 100. Their whole value proposition is based on knowledge transfer and career placement.
The two things AI is absolutely demolishing.
The two things AI is demolishing, they don't have the elite brand or the untouchable network, so their value just collapses much faster.
What about the more focused technical degrees, like a master's in business analytics?
Those specialized masters are acutely vulnerable. 10 years ago, that degree was a golden ticket. Now it's built on the exact technical skills modeling, coding, that AI can augment or just replace. The very thing that made you an expert is the thing that can be turned into a prompt.
That's a brutal irony. And even the elites, the Harvards and Stanfords, they can't be feeling completely safe here.
They're buffered by brand and network, but they face immense ROI pressure. When the core knowledge they teach is essentially free, that $200,000 price tag starts to look very, very heavy.
So if the analytical skills are a commodity, what's left? What's the pivot? The source material is pretty clear that just adding a few AI courses won't cut it.
No, it's totally insufficient. This has to be a fundamental reinvention around 4 core capabilities that AI, at least for now, cannot replicate.
And the skill is no longer just applying a known model, like SWOT analysis.
Exactly. The new skill is deciding which model to invent for a specific, messy situation. That's the first capability. Causal reasoning and strategic representation.
So moving beyond the textbook frameworks.
Way beyond. It's about designing a custom analytical lens. Wharton is focusing on what they call representational thinking. It's the ability to look at a complex, ambiguous problem and decide what actually matters, how the pieces connect, before you even ask the AI to run the numbers.
I see. So it's about framing the right question, which is a much higher order skill.
That's it, which leads to the second capability, contextual judgment. This is the human layer you have to apply to whatever the AI spits out.
So knowing when to trust the machine.
And when not to. And how to prompt it effectively. And, crucially, how to integrate its quantitative insights with all the qualitative stuff it misses. Organizational culture, office politics, the human messiness of it all.
Can you give us an example of that?
Sure. The AI might recommend closing a factory based on perfect financial logic, but the human leader has to overlay that recommendation with the impact on community trust, on employee morale, on the political relationship with the local government. That's judgment.
I see the pivot now. It's all moving toward these less quantifiable, uniquely human skills.
Yes. And the third is ethical navigation. As AI handles the routine stuff, the human's job becomes focused on the really thorny ethical questions and stakeholder conflicts.
So it's not just a standalone ethics class anymore.
It can't be. It has to be woven through everything. You're constantly analyzing cases where what is legal and what is right are two very different things. The algorithm can't answer that for you.
And the last one, relationships. How is that different from the old idea of networking?
The fourth capability is relationship building in high-stakes environments. The focus shifts from just having a broad transactional network, finding out who knows what, to building deep, high-quality trust.
For what purpose?
For making complex judgment calls together. If you're about to make a risky $10 million decision, you don't need a LinkedIn connection. You need real trust and shared accountability. That's the new network value.
This is great as a framework, But let's get into the specifics.
Yeah.
How are schools actually putting this into practice? Let's look at the reinvention on the ground.
Okay, starting with curriculum. USC Marshall has completely redesigned its core strategy course. Students are now positioned as AI-augmented strategists.
Meaning their job isn't to do the analysis.
Right. Their job is to evaluate the AI-generated analysis. They have to check it for coherence, for bias, for contextual relevance. The student's role shifts from being a creator of data to a critic of it.
And Wharton is flipping the whole classroom dynamic.
Totally. They piloted an approach where students use AI to do the initial case analysis before class. So all of the class time is dedicated to critiquing the AI's work.
So the AI does the homework.
The AI does the homework, and the student's job is to act like the professor, to challenge its assumptions, find its flaws, and elevate its logic. It just flips the entire model on its head.
That's fascinating. You accelerate past the basic work to focus only on the sophisticated human part. And we're seeing this with ethics, too. It's becoming structural.
Exactly. You mentioned Harvard embedding leadership and corporate accountability across the whole first year, and MIT Sloan is integrating ethical dilemmas about data directly into its core courses on finance and marketing.
So you can't escape it.
It's not an elective you can skip. It's part of every decision.
Okay, so what about experiential learning? If the classroom is changing, the real-world stuff must be even more important.
It's where the real value gets built. The University of Michigan's Ross School has this program where all undergrads have to spend a semester solving a real, messy problem for a real client. They have to navigate incomplete data and internal politics things an AI can't simulate.
And Babson College, which is famous for entrepreneurship, is taking it a step further.
They are. They now require students to actually engage in venture creation, building the startup, managing cash flow, dealing with failure, not just venture planning, which an AI could probably do pretty well.
It's the difference between a plan and reality.
And that gap is filled with human judgment. But this also means the school itself has to change. It has to become more adaptive.
You have to practice what they preach.
You can't teach agility from a slow-moving bureaucracy. Cambridge's business school created a futures lab that is constantly scanning for technological and economic trends. They're trying to build a sensory organ for change.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
And London Business School is tackling the curriculum problem head on.
Yeah, they allocate 15% of their curriculum to experimental modules that can be launched with a faster approval process.
So they can move at the speed of technology, not the speed of academia.
Which is a huge difference. And finally, you have strategic divergence. Schools are starting to make hard choices about who they want to be rather than all chasing the same ranking.
Like Yale.
Yale is a perfect example. They are deliberately specializing around business and society, choosing to focus on social impact instead of just optimizing for those high finance starting salaries.
They're choosing to be different.
And UC Berkeley Haas is building more of a platform model, orchestrating connections between students, companies, and alumni, creating value through flow and interaction, not just static content.
So the ultimate question really is whether these institutions, which teach strategic transformation for a living, can actually apply it to themselves.
That's the billion-dollar question. The choice is pretty stark. You can either keep optimizing an obsolete model that's built on commodified knowledge, or you can pursue a radical reinvention around these irreducibly human skills.
And for you, the learner, this means the whole landscape is about to fragment. You won't just see 100 schools all offering a similar MBA anymore.
No, you'll see a much greater diversity. Specialist schools, platform models, cheap online providers for the basic knowledge.
And then the elite residential programs focused intensely on that high-level judgment and network building,
Right.
which means your own evaluation process has to evolve.
Yeah.
The question you have to ask is no longer just, is this a good school?
Right.
But what is this degree certifying? Will it certify knowledge an AI can replicate for free? Or will it certify irreplaceable human capabilities in judgment and leadership? That distinction right there is going to define all the value and the price moving forward.